dit, ça vient avec le temps. Allez, vas-y, à toi de jouer Jolly Jumper.
Okay. Welcome to Food Science and Sanitation. For our first e-learning together, we're gonna continue our discussion about growth of microorganisms. As we have already discussed in class, there is pathogen microorganism. Pathogen microorganisms are, as we have seen, microorganisms.
Non, reprends.
Pathogen microorganisms.
Non, reprends la phrase. Tu te souviens plus de ta phrase.
C'était ça ce que j'ai fait. Je commençais avec ça.
Ah, t'as commencé par pathogène? Ok.
Pathogen microorganisms, as we have discussed in class, are microorganisms harmful for the health of humans. But today's topic, we're gonna discuss on another type of microorganism. So, let's have a look together. So, first,
Enlève le saut. First, et continue.
Ok.
Voilà, là, hésite pas. Entre les slides, tu respires et tu voilà. Prévois ce que tu vas dire.
C'est ça, c'est la prévoyer qui est difficile.
Prévoir.
Le prévoyage, le prévoyer. Oui, allô.
Du verbe prévoyage.
First. Attends, c'est quoi? Let's ask ourselves a few questions.
Non, là tu devrais introduire le topic, là regarde, t'as pas bénéficié des pathogènes. First, let's differentiate the two main categories. We have seen pathogen means negative, beneficial means positive, means it's good.
Ouais, mais du coup ça overlap sur la question après.
Ok. Donc dans ce cas-là c'est ok. First, let's differentiate these two words, pathogen and beneficial. And to do that, let's ask ourselves a simple question.
Okay.
Okay?
So, no.
Enlève le saut.
First.
Let me take a selfie.
First, let's define.
C'est pas grave, prends ton temps, respire.
First, let's differentiate those two words, pathogen and beneficial.
To do that, continue.
To do that, let's ask ourselves a simple question. Are all microorganisms dangerous for health? No, like human, there are no.
Non. Là, il faut que tu mettes du lion, mets un peu de lion. Donc tu fais for else.
Ah, ok.
Là, tu vois, il faut juste que tu mettes un peu de lion avant de dire non. Voilà.
Ok. C'est super dur.
Non, c'est pas très dur. Non, tu t'es arrêté à bad for health, donc.
Bad for health. Donc.
All microorganisms. Là, en fait, moi, ce que je fais généralement, c'est que je me répète. Toi, je fais all microorganisms for health. If you think about it, I'm sure you can find sometime bacteria, for example, that could be useful. Tu trouves juste un petit lion. Ou alors tu t'attaques direct, tu fais like many things in life, a lot of things have good and bad. Et là, tu fais une transition, tu vois. Si tu dois vraiment réfléchir, si tu as vraiment besoin de réfléchir, ce que je te conseille, c'est de pause.
All microorganisms for health. Le lion, c'est dur.
Le lion, c'est facile. Ok. Are dangerous for health? Well, many people tend to believe that it's only negative because we always talk about virus and the fact that we get sick. So we tend to be only focusing on the fact that we get sick. The truth is, like human, some are good and some are bad. Voilà, là ta transition.
Oh putain, c'est dur. Ok. Bon, les boulis, vous m'entendez?
Boo! Punchline! Oh, Jérémy on the mic! Ouh!
Donc tu disais oui. Oh, microorganism dangerous for health. No, in fact, many body always focus on the bad microorganism.
Qu'est-ce que t'as raconté là? Refais-le.
Jules, il a fait aussi ça?
Il a jamais essayé une vidéo en entier.
Ok. Attends. Discuss all microorganisms dangerous for health.
On l'avait pas coché, hein.
Ouais.
Vas-y, éclate-toi.
Okay. Are all microorganisms dangerous for health?
Well, many people tend to be.
Yeah. Well, many people tend to focus and believe that all microorganisms are dangerous for health. But in fact, like humans, there are good and bad microorganisms. Most of our body, for example, contain good microorganisms that helps us to fight against bad microorganisms such as viruses. But now let's have a look in hospitality and the use of beneficial. So now let's have a look in. So now.
Oui. Respire.
So now.
Non, pause. So
now, let's have a look in hospitality and the use of beneficial microorganisms in food. So, are good microorganisms used in food production? Well, it seemed to be a simple answer, as I already introduced that good microorganisms have a use in food production. In fact, many products we consume in our daily life are made using microorganisms. I am sure you already have some example about it. In fact, most of the food products that you consume with a slight. In fact, many products that you consume daily, which has a flavor of fermented or bitter, are usually signs that they have been made with the use of microorganisms. So, what kind of food are we using? So, what kind of food are made using microorganisms? Well, you have yogurt, cheese, vinegar, bread, kimchi, pickle, chocolate, even alcohol instead. So now, to go further on how beneficial microorganisms.
Non. Maintenant, ce que tu veux expliquer, c'est comment certains de ces produits. So now, let's look at a few of these products and discuss. No. Now, let's look at a few of these products and study together how the bacteria and how the microorganism help to make that kind of product and make, for example, the texture or the flavor or contribute to any aspect. Donc voilà, c'est aspect. C'est now we want to discuss how the bacteria build certain characteristics of the product. C'est ça qu'elle explique la vidéo. Et si tu fais ça dans ta vidéo là, ça va lier avec ta question sur caractéristique.
So now, let's watch a video together and let's focus on three main products and what microorganism. No.
Respire.
So.
Use pas ton faut perdre pas ta concentration.
So now let's watch a video together. Let's see, for certain type of products, how microorganisms will impact the quality of the food.
Where does bread get its fluffiness? Swiss cheese its holes? And what makes vinegar so sour? These foods may taste completely different, but all of these phenomena come from tiny organisms chowing down on sugar and belching up some culinary byproducts. Let's start with yeast. Yeast are single-celled fungi used to make bread, beer, and wine, among other products. Yeast break down carbohydrates like sugar to get energy and the molecules they need to function. They have two different ways to do this, the oxygen-dependent or aerobic pathway and the oxygen-independent anaerobic pathway, which is also called fermentation. When you bake bread, yeast can use both pathways, but they normally prefer to start with the anaerobic process of fermentation. In this process, ethanol is produced in addition to CO2. No, bread isn't alcoholic. Small amounts of alcohol that are secreted evaporate during baking. In the aerobic or oxygen-dependent pathway, the yeast consumes some of the sugar and produce carbon dioxide gas, or CO2, and water. In both processes, the CO2 accumulates and creates tiny bubbles. These bubbles get trapped by gluten and create a sponge-like structure that gives the bread its soft texture. Wine also relies on yeast, but a winemaking setup keeps the oxygen levels low so that yeast consumes sugar using fermentation, the anaerobic pathway. The process often starts with wild yeasts already hanging out on the grapes. But to get consistent results, most winemakers also add carefully selected strains of yeast that can tolerate high levels of alcohol. The yeast consume the sugar in the grape juice, and as the sugar level drops, the alcohol level rises. This doesn't necessarily mean that sweeter wines have less alcohol. Different types of grapes start with different amounts of sugar, and sugar can also be added. What happens to the carbon dioxide? It just bubbles away through a vent. In carbonated alcoholic beverages like champagne and beer, sealed containers are used in primary or secondary fermentation to keep the carbon dioxide in the bottle. Wine also introduces us to our second type of food-producing microorganism, bacteria. A special strain of bacteria turns a tart compound in grape juice into softer tasting ones that are responsible for some of the flavors in red wines and Chardonnays. Another type of bacteria, called acetic acid bacteria, isn't so desirable in wine, but they have their function too. If there's oxygen around, these bacteria convert the ethanol in wine into, well, acetic acid. Let this process continue, and you'll eventually get vinegar. Bacteria are the key for cheese, too. To make cheese, milk is inoculated with bacteria. The bacteria gobble up the lactose, a kind of sugar, and produce lactic acid, along with many other chemicals. As the milk gets more and more acidic, its proteins start to aggregate and curdle. That's why spoiled milk is clumpy. Cheesemakers usually add an enzyme called rennet, naturally found inside of cows, goats, and some other mammals, to help this process along. Eventually, those little curdles turn into bigger curds, which are pressed to squeeze out the water and create a firm cheese. Different strains of bacteria make different kinds of cheese. For example, a species of bacteria that emits carbon dioxide is what gives Swiss cheese its characteristic holes. Some cheeses, brie and camembert, use another kind of microorganism too, mold. So your kitchen functions as a sort of biotechnology lab, manned by microorganisms that culture your cuisine. Yogurt, soy sauce, sour cream, sauerkraut, kefir, kimchi, kombucha, cheddar, challah, pita, and naan. But maybe not all at the same dinner.
So now, let's work together. No.
So now, let's do a bit of work together. But no, not together. So
No.
now let's do a bit of work.
So now let's do a bit of work. Now that you have watched and masterized the... So now that you... So now, let's do a bit of work. So now, let's do a bit of... So now, let's do a bit of work. Now that you have understand how microorganisms are impacting... So now, let's do a bit of work. So now, let's do a bit of work. Now that you have understand how microorganisms impact the characteristic of food, I would like you to answer some questions. The first question is, what are the 3 types of microorganisms introduced in this video? The second question is, what is the extrinsic? So the second question is, what is the extrinsic factor the microorganism used to grow? My third question will be, what substances of microorganism used to feed? My fourth question, which food item often consumed in Malaysia are made thanks to those microorganisms? The fifth question, which characteristic of cheese is obtained thanks to the microorganism? Sixth question will be, which characteristic of wine is obtained thanks to the microorganism? And the last question, which characteristic of bread is obtained thanks to the microorganism? For your answer, I will need you to submit your answer through the email link below. All your answers need to be written in a Microsoft format. Microsoft format means you need to create a Word document writing the question with the question number and your answers in full sentences. The document needs as well to indicate the following information: your full name, your student ID number. This will have to be discussed. This will have to be submitted before our last class together. Thank you for today, and see you again for another e-learning.